All right. Hello, everyone. As we kind of get rolling here, I want to welcome our special guests and our attendees to the Net Effect, episode number 11, Career Conversations and Connections.
Yes.
So I'm going to kind of give everyone a moment to kind of get logged in here before we get rolling. As you log in, if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate hearing from you in our Q&A. If you go to the little bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar, and on that toolbar, there's a little tab that says Q&A. Click that open, and as you do, then please comment, say who you are and where you're from. Hi, Kristen. Thank you. Hi, Donna. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys doing that. That way we know who's in the room and that our system is up and running. We have our Facebook Live rolling. Perfect. All right. Nice to see everyone. Hi, Lane, Janie. Thank you. James. Hey, Sherry. Fun. Good to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I am so excited about today's conversation. I have been pacing my hallway today to be able to meet our special guests and visit with Franklin Harris, Director of Human Resources at Arden. So welcome, Franklin.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm just as excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. My mother-in-law was a Christian Science nurse. In fact, she was at Ardenwood for a couple years. So some of our kids, we spent Thanksgiving there and Christmas there, so we know the facility. Of course, the Albert Baker Fund holds our quarterly trustee meetings there often. So we know your place fairly well, and we're looking forward to getting to know you better today, introducing you to our community.
Well, we're going to get that done today.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're having any challenges seeing us, be sure that you've downloaded our software, the Zoom software, so that you can enable that Q&A chat or the Q&A session. The chat's been disabled, so it's really the communication happens in Q&A. So be sure that if you have any questions or comments, I'm going to make sure right now that everybody can see all the questions. All right, great. Got all those boxes checked. So you should be able to see the comments from everybody in Q&A.
Yes. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill. Yeah. Rose, nice to see you. So let's move on to that. And Franklin, you have an incredible background. You're multifaceted, you're goal-oriented, you're a human resource professional, and you've got lots of different accolades that kind of go with that as it relates to compensation and human resource information system management and policies. So you've just got a wealth and a storehouse of great knowledge and expertise, and we are so grateful that you're going to share that with us today. So you're born and raised in Oakland, right?
Born and raised a Bay Area native. Not sure if I'll ever leave.
Well, and you went to school there too, right?
Yes, I did. CSU East Bay.
Nice, nice. So we're so glad to have you. I know that you kind of got into human resources and you've been in that world.
Yes.
And now you are really in the thick of things as a human resource professional.
Yes.
So how is it that you're spending your time these days, Franklin?
Well, prior to COVID, I was doing a whole bunch. Since COVID, the HR focus has been there. Being an HR director of a Christian Science community and a Christian Science nursing community, it's brought up some challenges, but the rule is just to adapt. Don't let it stop you. Figure out how you can not work around it, but work with it. And that's been the goal. And so I'm blessed with a great SLT team here at Ardenwood. And we've literally since March have had, I could say, about 100 meetings based on just how we're operating throughout COVID-19. And so adapting, that's what we're doing.
Was obviously impacted your day-to-day operations and
Absolutely.
new hiring procedures, right?
Yes. And all of that change, before COVID, we could bring people on site. We could do interviews. We could just have that one-on-one personal connection that you can't have right now, especially being in a nursing home. You cannot have any of these visitors come on site. So it's now going through Zoom and using the internet more than we have been in the past. And again, trying to find ways to keep the interviews going, not just end them in totality.
So now you've been reorganizing jobs and
Yes.
you're working through the COVID issues as it relates to hiring new people. Boy, that is a lot to work with on a
Oh,
day-to-day
yes.
basis. Well, I applaud you for that. So talk about the things that you're doing to stay motivated.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things we're doing, I think very impactful to our organization, is literally looking at our whole org structure right now. So as a nonprofit, sometimes we would be out flying, making connections. Right now we're sitting. And so in this time of sitting, we don't just want to waste time. So we thought about, what can we do? Let's look at this whole org chart. Let's take this org chart and see how these positions are really supporting the company. Has this just been a role that a person is filling, or is this a role that's supporting the needs of the company, the community, the residents, and the patients? And so we've had, I would call it fun, because I'm HR, of course, but we've had fun reorganizing these jobs and making it fit to where, we are setting ourselves up so that when COVID has passed, we will continue to grow and we won't have to pick up the pieces from March, because we've kept them going since March. Other things we've done, even just on our site, is maximize our space here. We've had lunch outside, just do different things in the office for the people that are here so that they're not feeling captured in or stuck in a box. Our residents as well, we've been doing different things with them on site because we can't have them off site at the time.
Okay. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask was about your new hiring procedures.
Yes.
So what are you doing as it relates to that?
So one of the things we're doing is just, I would say, the biggest thing we're doing is asking different questions. When you have a person in front of you and you're doing a one-on-one interview, as an HR professional, you look at body language, you listen to tone, you're listening to the words that are coming out of their mouth. But when it comes to nowadays over Zoom, that's not as clear. Body language isn't as clear. And so you have, and there's a feeling of, I would call it the awkward moment, where there's this silence because maybe the interviewer or the interviewee doesn't know how to answer the question that was just asked. And so you have to be willing to step in and just keep the interview going, keep asking questions, ask questions that involve detailed answers. I would say in this time of COVID, we've stayed away from the yes and no questions. Yes or no's, they don't really hit the mark for us. Tell me how you like to be supervised. Tell me how you like to manage a group of people. Tell me what style of management has worked for you before. So I'm just challenging our hiring team right now to ask different questions, to dive in. You really have to go with the dive in this time of COVID. And that's keeping us motivated because, again, we haven't been able to make many hires throughout COVID, but we have great candidates. And once we are able to make those hires, we have done the background work already.
That's good. Well, some of these Zoom calls, I'm sure that's a brand new thing for even as the HR professional, but also for the job seeker, right?
Absolutely. Let's say you're a job seeker, and you're not coming to an interview. So maybe you can't sell yourself how you would in a normal interview. You can't convey the messages how you would in a normal interview because you're stuck on this computer. You're worried about how you look and how are the words coming out. And if there's a timing issue with the internet, there's a lot of other variables now added to the interview process. And so what my recommendation is for those that are seeking jobs is make sure you articulate yourself well. Articulation will be everything in an interview. You have to be able to get your point across, get your message across, and do it effectively. If you're doing it in a way that seems to be too long and drawn out, you may not land the job based on the feeling of the video call. And so you have to put your energy at a 10 always. You use hands, use your face, use facial expressions, but convey and articulate what that message is that you're trying to get across. Because that's different than if you walk in and somebody can see your smile and, oh, this person feels so warm and great. Well, you don't necessarily get those feelings through Zoom. And so as a person that's interviewing for a position, you need to make sure you're articulating that, getting it across, making sure you convey the message that you want to be heard. And so practice makes perfect. You can practice these interview questions. You can, if you know what kind of job you're looking for, maybe it's not HR, maybe you're looking to be in facilities, maybe you're looking to do something in accounting. Google is your best friend. Go Google questions and say, interview questions for an accountant level position. Practice the answers to those questions so that when you are in front of a screen like this, you're able to convey that message without a bunch of I don't know. Make sure you practice. And for those that are interviewing, make sure you also ask questions that are fitting to the role. The questions need to be concrete. Go over the questions with your management team just to make sure you're not wasting time. You get, let's say, 30 to 45 minutes in a Zoom. You want to gain as much information as possible.
Well, that kind of goes into this question, which is, should you be having conversations with many different people, even outside your lane? I mean, the point you just made about practicing really it underscores this point as it relates to reaching out to people. And instead of maybe having a phone call, maybe you have a Zoom call.
Yes.
So you can get comfortable with the technology, with the medium, with how you look, how you hear yourself. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. So let me tell you, when it comes to talking with other professionals, so if you're here for HR, literally, your job is every department. Your job is not just the HR office. You're going to need to work with accountant, food servicing, maintenance. You're going to need to work with everybody because all of your staff or all of the staff that works there, you're part of their team and you're going to need to know their job. So one of the things I recommend is build your LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I mean, everybody talks about social media, TikTok, all these great things, but build your LinkedIn. Build a community on your LinkedIn that you can reach out to, not just a community that you can get a job from, but build your mentoring community. One of the best things I've done on LinkedIn is find different VPs or directors of HR that I can learn from, that I can ask a question to, because asking a question to them versus asking a question to a lawyer is about a $300 difference. And so, you want to grow that kind of community. Also, I think one of the biggest tools for me in HR is being so versed, being able to literally speak the language of a housekeeper and being able to speak the language of a CEO. And you have to understand that they are going to speak two different languages, but they are trying to meet the same goal. And so as an HR professional, you can't be stuck just understanding CEO language. You have to understand every part of the employment because you need to meet every one of those associate needs.
Well, and I also think too that along the lines of what you're saying, that if you build that community, you can also go to that community and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about interviewing for this job. Would you mind doing a mock interview with me? Taking 10 or 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
And, these are the 3 or 4 questions that maybe I have that I feel like I struggle with. I just need to kind of get your feedback and see if you think these answers might work well. Do you like that? I mean, do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. That's growth. And as I had expressed with you before, Robin, I'm with the grow, not go mentality. So if you want to grow instead of just going you have to branch out. You have to practice. You have to have those interviews. Reach out to a manager of your company, maybe that you're okay with, or reach out to a stranger that you don't know and just let them know, hey, I'm going for this Zoom interview. I see that your position is as sales director. I'm going for a sales admin position. Would you mind having a 10-minute video conference with me? Because that's all an interview is. It's a video conference. One of the things I do when I get into any Zoom interview and any in-person interview as well, I let them know this is not an interview because I'm not interviewing. I don't want you to just answer questions. This is not a test. This is a conversation. I want to understand who you are. I want to understand if you're a fit for this role, and I want you to understand what this role is. Big thing for HR professionals. If you are interviewing a company, and if you are interviewing for a company, you need to make sure you interview that company as well. You are going to be put in positions, and you have to make sure that you are okay with the thought process of that industry, of that business. And so make sure that you're just not going in there answering questions, but that you have a host of questions to ask. As far as ask them, can they repeat the mission or the value statement of the company? If they can't, then you probably need to assess if that's somewhere that actually believes in what they're saying. Ask the company, how has this position supported the company in the last few years? If they can explain it to you, great, then they know what they need. If they can't explain it to you, then you may want to think about what that position is and if you're going to be able to determine the success of that role.
We'll talk a little bit about some of these things that relate to a job seeker. So let's just kind of pivot everyone's using that word, but we're going to pivot here and we're going to talk about interviewing, maybe some of the interviewing skills that are needed for a job seeker post COVID-19.
Absolutely. So like I said earlier, first thing, articulation is key. Communication is key. I'm sure you've all heard it before. Make sure you communicate. Make sure, I would say one of the biggest things is take the nerves away. The nerves, that's fear. And again, we don't work with fear. So take that away. Take that completely away. Understand that you were put in that interview position to interview for that job. Whether you get it or not, own that interview. You are set in this moment to interview for that position. So that's first and foremost. Next to articulation. So they're both first. Second, I would just say, understand the role that you are interviewing for. Be able to answer questions about it. If you're interviewing for Ardenwood, research what Ardenwood does, who they are, the community that they serve. If you come in here to Ardenwood and I'm interviewing you and you say, oh, I know you guys are a religious organization and I think you guys serve maybe some of the Christian and Catholic community, then I know you haven't done any research as far as to what this company is. So if you're going to be interviewing, especially in this time of Zoom interviews where questions are prepared, make sure you've done your research on the company. And then again, ask as many questions as you can because you want to understand what role you're getting into. I know we all apply to jobs because we need them and we need an income, but there is no income that's worth a peace of mind. So understand where you're going to work and what you're going to be doing.
We'll talk a little bit about the professional environment. So we're doing this Zoom call, right?
Yes.
And is a professional environment maybe putting a stool in the laundry room, and although you may have a great background, is that sufficient? Or what's your thoughts about that?
You touch on a great topic, which is prep work. When it comes to these Zoom calls, I remember I just mentioned this earlier today, but I remember my first or second Zoom call, and I had worked from home that day, and I had a meeting with the CFO. And behind me was a refrigerator with a bunch of cereal on the top of it and some chips. I said, I didn't realize you were going to be able to see that. And so luckily, since then, Zoom has provided these wonderful backgrounds as you see this blue one. But prepare. Definitely make sure your internet connection.
Boy, I got to tell you, that is key, isn't it?
Oh, goodness. I've had 2 Zoom interviews this week, literally Monday and Tuesday. And the person had internet failure. And so pretty much the interview didn't happen. Don't let that be the case. Prepare. Interviews are generally not scheduled instantly. They're scheduled a day or so, 2 days in advance. Make sure you have your area prepped out. Make sure the lighting is good. Make sure, just like you do for a social media picture, make sure all of that is ready for this Zoom interview. Make sure your speaker, if you need headphones, if you make sure you've told people, I'm not going to be free between 2:30 and 4 o'clock today. So please don't knock on my office door or call my phone because that will interrupt what I have going on. So prep work.
I have a sign that my daughter made for me that goes on my door that says it's beautiful, meeting in progress. So everyone knows that door's shut and that sign's on, don't be knocking on the door, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You must do that. And I'll tell you, that sometimes can be the difference on whether you get the job or not. And again, I'm going to say this again, articulate yourself. Make sure you tell them who you are, what you can do, how you can do it.
And that takes practice, right?
Yes. Answer the questions that they're not asking you. And again, for HR professionals seeking employment, go on the internet, use Google. There are so many questions. And if you can master how to answer them, I guarantee you, your interviews will be successful and you will be able to pick the position you want instead of just interviewing for a position.
Well, Kara asked a really good question. And I tell you, how do you recommend candidates assess culture in an organization they are interested in joining? In particular, some of the assessment happens on site. You do your pre-work, right? But then when you walk in the building and you start to look at, the things that are there, the people that are walking around, how things are conducted, how do you assess a culture now, post COVID-19 when you can't actually walk in the door?
Absolutely. So you need to, again, that's a part of asking those questions. So what has it been like since the company has been shut down? Like, how are you guys operating? Are there still team lunches? Do you guys have team meetings? What is the communication like in the company since COVID has taken place?
Yeah.
What ways are what things are your companies doing to go around COVID and still increase employee morale? You want to ask those questions because if they do have answers, that's a planning company. That's a company that understands that things are happening, but we must keep moving. And if they're saying, well, I don't know, we're just sitting here trying to figure it out. Well, we've been in COVID 3 months, if not more. The figuring out, you have to put one foot in front of the other. Like my favorite verse, faith without works is dead. We can have all the faith in the world and we must have it first. That's why it's put faith without works. But you have to do those works as well. You definitely have to do those works.
Well, let's take it from the other side as an HR professional and talk a little bit about, the hiring process and how you maybe evaluate soft skills.
Absolutely. So there's a bunch of tools that I recommend people use. One of the tools we're using here at Arden is the PI, Predictive Index. And it allows you, because in California, I don't know for a lot of the other states, but in California, New York, I think Washington as well, you cannot, there's so many questions that you can't ask in an interview. So give them something that you can understand their thought process, understand how they think and understand how they work, because that's really what you want to understand. Mm-hmm. And then give them the job description. Have them walk you through it. Send them that job description early. See how they communicate the job description. See how they talk about it. See how it references, how it works with them. What if they don't understand the job description, then maybe the job is above what they're used to doing. And if they have a lot to say about it, maybe while you're talking, you realize, oh, this person could actually be a lead of this department. And so it's literally, again, trying some of these third-party programs that help you figure out, I want to say help you figure out who the employee is, helps you figure out how the employee thinks, helps you figure out how you can organize your team. I know we use it here, let's say with our senior leadership team. I have all of their PIs, and I know it just helps us work together. It helps me see, okay, maybe this is challenging, so I'll give it to the two people that seem a little more extroverted. I'll give them the task of going out, while I may have the two people that are introverted work on more of the paperwork tasks. So there are a bunch of tools, but again, your biggest tool is going to be questioning. But in California, you have to be really particular and think about the questions that you're asking. If this question can turn into a discriminatory factor, don't ask it. If you think it can, don't ask it. If the thought crossed that maybe with one eye closed you can, don't ask the question because it's not worth the legal risk attached to it.
Well, what do you do with a job opening like you have right now? We have it posted to the Career Alliance, a
Yes.
facilities manager. How do you interview someone that you've got skills and you've got specific things that are attached to that job posting?
Yes. So this has actually been the challenge. I would say for Zooming interviews, facilities and maintenance, that's a challenge. A lot of maintenance and facilities, they don't come across as these super people person. And so you're doing an interview and they may just be sitting there answering questions just like this, change the tone, and you're like, what's going on? And you're like, wait, I just lost all the energy that I had. And so one of the things you have to do, start the conversation off not so technical. With them, you want to start it off personal. Hey, let's talk. How are you? How would the travel be into San Francisco? Just get them, ask some of those questions first and then get into the technical questions. I know one of the things we've had to really do with this facilities manager position is go back as an organization and understand what the need is, because we have to ask questions based on the need. Mm-hmm. And I recommend that for a lot of people. When there is a job and you're looking at how to do this job or how to structure this job, make sure you're not structuring the person, but you're structuring the job. It's not the person, it's the role. As an HR professional, we always have to remember that when it comes to compensation, when it comes to any of that, when it comes to sourcing, when it comes to hiring, great. You may like Robin. Robin is a great person. He came off very friendly. Robin doesn't know a thing about a hammer and a nail, so you can't hire him.
That's what my kids would say. Yeah, my wife. All these projects that I never get done.
Yes. And I was just using Robin. He probably knows much more than hammer and nail. But, it's not the person. It's the job. It's the role. When you think comp, it's not the person. You're thinking about this role. When you think benefits attached, not the person, it's the role. And if you roll with that thought, you end up eliminating a lot of the things that can cause you legal risk in HR.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we got to move. So I want to move into your 3 rules for a successful HR career. And your first one is?
Know your audience. And I mean that to the term, know your audience. 3 words, they will help you out. You have to know who you're speaking to. That goes back to the points where I was talking about a CEO and a housekeeper. I am not going to speak the exact same. I will show them both the same amount of respect, but I'm not going to speak to them the same. One wants to hear about budget and finances, while the other wants to hear about benefits and paydays. So you have to know the audience, know who you're speaking to. Second, stay in your lane. I cannot tell you how many times you will need to repeat this to yourself as an HR professional. HR, you can literally be involved in every department. Stay in your lane. If it's operations, let the operations person figure that out. If it's nursing, let the nursing person figure that out. If it's HR, if there's an employee issue, if there's change, if there's conflict resolution, that's your lane. Stay there. There's so much room to drive, make U-turns, all of that in the HR lane. I just advise you to stay there, because the moment that you step out, understand they will call you out on it, because we are the law. So they will call you out on it because you've called them out on something before.
Right.
And yes, you get one chance to make a first impression. You don't get a second chance at that. When you're in that interview or when you walk into that board meeting, you get one chance for them to take you serious. There is so much weighing on HR in any organization. You have to make sure that you get that first impression. You let them know you're about business. You also show them your personal side, but don't go in there thinking this is a joke or that you can do this again. And also don't go into HR thinking, I'm Mr. Rule. I'm going to do this.
Right.
Good luck. You will need the grace of your employees. And so you want to make sure you're not just this person. And in HR, there is a tendency to where some people will get in the field thinking it's just this. I want to be a rule person. do you want to attach all of the legal risks to those rules that you're saying? Do you want to figure out how to operate in a company that's locked down by rules? No. So what you want to be is a people person, not this. You want to be this.
Well, you have some great ideas for educational resources if you're
Absolutely.
interested, right, in becoming an HR professional.
Absolutely. And maybe you can put all three up there.
You bet.
And so these are the first one, HRCI. It's a great website if you have HR questions, if you want to attend HR events. The link I put up is specifically for the PHR, which is your certificate in human resources. But you literally, if you have questions, it's a great place. HR.com as well. It is a great place to ask questions. If you are in the state of California, I recommend the Cal Chamber site, and literally just Google Cal Chamber, it'll take you right there. But these are helpful tools. Don't create information that already exists.
Well, this is kind of a related question. Do professional certifications impact employees' careers if they do? We're talking about HR, but I mean, just in general, how do those professional certifications help someone?
Absolutely. We've all taken college courses, and so you understand the deep dive. There are specific courses that you need to operate in HR. You need to understand FMLA. You need to understand disability law. You need to understand a lot of these, and they're not 8 or 9 week classes. It may be an 8 or 9 hour class. And
right.
That's where these certificates come in. That's where you're mastering the HR information that you need to know. I'll tell you the difference. Let's say you get out of college with a communications major, and you want to apply into the HR field. Well, you may be hired as an assistant, possibly a coordinator. If you get out of school with the bachelor's and you go take a 9-month, 4-month, however long PHR course, you set yourself up to then become that coordinator, the generalist, the manager, because every company I've ever interviewed for, they want to understand, do you have this certificate and do you know how to operate in California for HR law? Because your degree is great, but it doesn't teach you the HR California law that you
Well, that's a really good point, Franklin, because every state's a little bit different.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah. So in general, certifications this is from Laura. They always enhance, and they also show the potential employer that you're vested. That you're
absolutely.
You're a lifetime learner. You're not afraid to jump into new subject matter, right?
Absolutely. You go right into a great point. So my last bullet point on this slide is Fred Pryor. So I've been working with Fred Pryor for years, taking trainings. I've used them from my manufacturing sites all the way to literally this Christian Science nursing site. And so if you are vested, which you will need to be as an HR, you understand law changes every day. Wage changes twice a year. You have to, you know those things are happening. Fred Pryor is a great place. You can get a membership for about somewhere between $200 and $300. But there's so many courses, whether it's a 5-minute course or a 2-hour course, there's so many courses that keep you up to date, that provide information. Even throughout this time of COVID, I think they have about 30 different COVID courses right now on just how to structure a team, a management team around this, a communications team. So these are some great links. If you're looking to grow your HR career or just looking to grow your HR knowledge, these are great links.
Well, I'm just gonna, we're gonna pivot here and again real quickly, but before I do, I just wanted to put on the screen some of the different job opportunities for human resources and potential salary, and obviously these are medium, so depending on where you live and so forth. So this gonna give you a little bit of a background of what some of the options are that are available for employment, and then I want to go to something near the next topic. So we're pivoting. We're going to talk specifically about job opportunities that support Christian Science nursing. So for a long time, I've wanted to talk about this and tell people that there are so many roads that you can go down, so many pathways to support Christian Science nursing, like Franklin is. And and the first one that we talk about is administration.
Absolutely. There are so many roles. There's administration. And so you want to talk about administration, that can be HR, finance, admin, ED, front desk. There's a lot of roles. The Christian Science nursing, yes, they are our biggest group of employees, but as you'll see, if you can list the rest, there are so many roles. We have an activities nurse, literally a person that comes in and does hymn sings for our residents.
Who knew? I didn't know that.
Oh yes, we have development where literally you're building these connections. We have our shelter care activities coordinator, somebody that may not be a Christian Science nurse but loves working with people and can keep the art projects going, can just keep the warm feeling going. And then you definitely have your operation support team. So let's say your food service, housekeeping, and maintenance. If those three left the building, then nursing or not, we're going to need somebody. So there are so many roles. And within these 5 categories, there are probably literally 30 to 40 roles that support the Christian Science nursing. So maybe you've gotten a degree in finance, but you want to come and work for a Christian Science nursing organization. You can, and you can be just as much of a help as a nurse to the cause and to the mission that's going on.
Well, I love that, Franklin. I just think that we need to continue to talk about this and advance this so that, that some of these students that are graduating that may have a difficult time finding employment, they should be looking at some of these opportunities in their own backyard. I know Absolutely. Here in Sacramento, we have Olive Glen,
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the roles that if someone did decide to be a nurse. I mean, gosh, I am completely amazed at how many different opportunities there are for advancement
Absolutely.
and to contribute.
So here at Ardenwood, we actually have a training program. So we have nurses in training from training levels 1 through 4. We have our Christian Science nursing mentors, the directors of those programs. One of the things we've created since I've been here is a staff level nurse 1 and 2, so that there's more than one career path of nursing. We have our shelter care nurses, we have charge nurses, our assistant directors, and they all of this team, this is about a team of 60 people, all of these people help push the mission forward, help provide the healing that Ardenwood was created for. And it's great because we literally get to see them come in and go from training 1 all the way sometimes to an assistant director. And when you can see that growth, there's no better feeling.
Well, based on what you said, you're talking over 100 different employees. I mean, I don't know how many people you guys employ at Ardenwood, but man, that just seems like a wealth of jobs and opportunities.
Absolutely, and there's so much growth. That's we in a lot of these nonprofits, especially at Ardenwood, we have the ability to grow and to decide how we grow.
I like that. So currently you have one job open.
Yes.
That's listed with the Career Alliance, but you've got some more coming.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we have the facilities managers opening, and if anybody that is on here right now or that may view this later, please reach out because we are looking for that right person. And coming soon, very soon, as of next week, we have the Christian Science Nursing Administrative Assistant. So we had a great student from Prin there. His name was Boyo. Boyo will be going off to get his master's degree in human resources.
I know Boyo, yeah.
Yes. And so his name is Boyo Amuka, just in case you guys don't know him. But this position is going to be vacant. We also have an administrative assistant with our finance department that's going to be opening up. And I know our director of finance, Nancy, is really looking to have somebody in that role that, number one, can learn, but that can also help us as well. And then we're going to, once this facilities manager position is filled, we're going to be opening up maybe 1 or 2 maintenance technicians filled. We want to have a great maintenance team here at Ardenwood. So we are in the spirit of growth. If any of these sound like you may be interested, I want to speak to you.
Well, Becky's asking if there's a nurses training happening this year still.
Okay, so we are trying to figure that out. Because of COVID, we had to postpone the one that would have started in June or July. We are looking further down in the calendar. We don't have a date yet, but once we do, I will definitely get that information to Robin so it can be shared.
Well, I wonder, is there, I mean, this is another question from Kara that says, what kind of challenges are HR leaders having or going to have in the future? I mean, obviously that's a challenge. Training. How do you do training where there's
Absolutely.
physical lifting and lab work and things like that?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest challenges is making things that we have said can't be virtual. We're going to have to make them virtual.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's something that we'll have to do. Another thing that we will have to do is change the way we're thinking about it and just make the impossible possible. And I know that sounds hard, but listen first and then start making the decisions.
Well, we're gonna get into our Q&A and our wrap up because we have gone over our time, but we're gonna finish this up with some of these questions. I think they're very, very good questions, and it's just been a terrific session. We've had a lot of information, a lot of things we really wanted to kind of touch on today. And Laurier has another question. What's the most efficient way of managing employees' compensation?
Oh, it's very quick. Like I told you earlier, it is position, not person. Look at the position, get a compensation structure. If you don't have one, get an HR professional that maybe specializes in compensation, or a third party. Get a comp structure because you need to be able to justify compensation. With the Fair Pay Act going around, there is no, you get to make 35 and you make 31 if they have the same job title. So let's make sure that you are comping to a salary structure that you can justify and that you can speak to.
How about benefits in a nonprofit?
When it comes to benefits in a nonprofit, if you're in any other state besides California, lucky you. If you are in California, there are so many rules that I really just say, look at your organization, look at where you are, and do your due diligence. Don't just sign up with the first program. There are so many startups that are offering benefits at a lot better rates than some of these bigger companies. So don't be afraid to go with a name that you don't know.
A trustee from Broadview, a CS nursing facility in LA, asked this question. We seem to be always running into HR communication issues. So looking for resources to help our team in place here. Ideas for that?
Yes. I work very close with our director of communications. I would just say in this time of COVID, messaging is everything. Look at the message though. Aesthetics to the messaging is everything, but keep the messaging going. Even if you're running into challenges, I would just say, understand where the challenge is actually coming from and work with the source of who would be able to communicate. Find a person in your organization. If you don't have a communications team, get 3 or 4 of your managers together and build a communication team that you guys make sure it's coming out uniformed and one thing is coming out. Because when one manager says something and another manager says something different, it causes confusion. So just stay on one accord.
Well, what about applications like we're using now? Do you see that? Like, do you see Zoom being a part of your, I mean, you and I both kidded it before we got on, how many Zoom calls we've been on today and this week. It's just been one after another. So for me, absolutely. But I can't imagine it being any different for you.
No, it's actually, Zoom is going to be a part of life. Welcome, say hi to your new interviewing tool for a while. I've been on Zoom literally since 8:30 this morning. And that's just how my day was set up because I can't meet with the people that are off-site. We can't go to the places that we could go before. And so Zoom, social media, internet calling, this is all going to be a new part of the new way. But I think in the first slide, how do we get around it? You adapt. Don't let it beat you. Don't let it get you. We are as a team bigger than Zoom, and we will make sure that we convey our messages and that we get the right things across. But again, have that faith because it's different for everybody right now.
Well, what about monitoring tools and, managing your employees remotely and trying to keep, the engagement built up? And
Yes.
what are your thoughts about that?
I think that one of the things I want to encourage is that if you are having Zoom meetings, Zoom calls, encourage the video function. And literally encourage it. Make your staff feel like that's the best tool possible, because in this time of not being able to be with people, we want to at least see them. It goes much further than if I was just talking and you couldn't see me.
Is that a requirement, you think?
You know, I want to tell you to make it a requirement, but I want to say the law disagrees with me there. So you can't make it mandatory. And I don't want to say you can or you can't, but I don't think you can make it mandatory that they have a video conference. But just encourage it as much as you can. Don't even present the non-video as an option. Just encourage it, because this will be apart for a while.
I mean, I think it's
in our field. Like, no, as far as Ardenwood, 90% of our staff is here. And so, because they really can't do their jobs remotely,
right.
There's no way. And so, but if you have people that can be remote, just encourage them. And also remember, they don't feel the same feeling as being in the office. So you have to have those extra conversations, bring them into what they may or may not know is going on.
Well, I think you make a good point. It's also, I think we also, as the HR professional, that you have a responsibility to help them get comfortable, make sure they got the right equipment, make sure that they kind of know what's expected, right? Mm-hmm. On a Zoom call, instead of just saying, hey, jump on this call kind of a thing. I think it helps to coach people a little bit,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there is one more question we're going to get to, and then we got to move on. But and that is how are you doing your coaching right now? I mean, how do you approach it in this kind of environment? I mean, that's got to change too, right?
Absolutely. So we're blessed with a lot of space at Ardenwood. What I've done, I used to do trainings in a much bigger format, but what I've done is I've taken the management teams, I've taken the supervisor teams, I've taken different departments, and I put them in an area where we can spread out. But if you can do the face-to-face coaching, do it, because that's what we do here. And actually, since we've been at this time of COVID, I've gotten more training and coaching done than prior to COVID.
Well, that's just terrific. I'm going to launch our poll because we're just about out of time, but please take a moment. Franklin, I just love everything we've been talking about today, and everyone that's on, please take a moment to fill out our poll and give us your feedback. We need to see what you're thinking, and if we're on track here, we appreciate it very much. You can always talk to me, call me on the phone, you can Zoom me, or you can email me as well if you have any additional questions or comments that you'd like to make. Love hearing from everyone. I'm going to let you guys roll with that. I left this slide on here just because I love the occupational Outlook handbook. That link is actually on the College to Career Roadmap. It really has things broken down in a way that is meaningful and gives you some great information, so that if you're trying to find your way in the human resources world, some of the slides that I put on here earlier are taken right from the occupational handbook, and it's just got a great information in there. And then Glassdoor 50 best jobs. So I wanted to keep that in our conversation. And of course, if you want to request a connection with Franklin directly, you may do so. So with the Career Alliance, we have our one-to-one career connections, and this is posted to our Twitter account. But if you go to abfcareeralliance.org, click any one of the tabs, student, job seeker, career ally. On the right-hand side, in the lower right-hand, you'll see our Twitter feed, and you can click on that link, and Franklin's connection is right there, and that'll take you right to being able to make a request directly with Franklin. Love to encourage that if you have any questions. Please, as you think moving forward, we'd love to have you engaging with us on our social media platforms, whichever one you use, whether it's Facebook. You can find us at Albert Baker Fund, and then on Twitter at ABF_connections, and at Instagram at Albert Baker Fund, and LinkedIn ABF Career Alliance. So take a moment and go there. Franklin was talking earlier about the importance of building your network. Well, we have a network. It's called the Career Alliance.
Yes.
And it's with people like this wonderful young man here who's been so generous with his time today and had great information today. So take a moment and register for the Career Alliance if you're not. If you're not a career ally, why aren't you? Franklin's a career ally. He's got his career connection posted. It's posting jobs. That's what we need from our community. We need that community engagement. We need more career allies. We need more people willing to share what they know with our students, our recent grads, our furloughed employees, unemployed, and career changers. And frankly, it's been really fun to witness some of the folks that are networking within the Career Alliance and finding those mentors that Franklin's talking about. I've known several different cases where people have listened to us, one of our guests, and reached out, and they've begun to build a relationship. So it's really fun to see this community working. And as you all know, in mid-March, we found that our students began to reach back to us and tell us some of their challenges that they're having as a result of losing their jobs. And so we started a new fund to help support and take care of some of these new needs and immediate needs. So it's called the Brotherly Love Fund here at the Albert Baker Fund. It's really to help our students now and in the future as it relates to being able to adjust and adapt to their needs, not having particular jobs or not being able to work as much, or maybe not getting as much aid. And we know tuition has been going up in some of the schools because of the increased cost and the reduced amount of some of the kids not going back. So please take a moment and check out the Brotherly Love Fund when you have a second. And in conclusion, it is about casting your net on the right side. I think we did a lot of right side casting today, Franklin. Wouldn't you agreed?
Yes.
You know, it's important to have those skills. It's important to develop some of the understanding and the knowledge. And gosh, I just love the fact that you shared with us the incredible number of jobs that are open, yes, opportunities to support Christian Science nursing. If you don't feel like you can get on the floor as a nurse, boy, right, there's lots of ways to go. I just so think that conversation has been needed, and thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, Robin, for having me, and thank you all for being a part. This was great.
It's just been terrific. I can't wait to have you on again, Franklin.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So thank you. Thank you all. Tell all your friends and neighbors about what we're doing here. Share this video with folks because there's a lot of great information here. And we will look forward to seeing everyone again next week. So thank you. Thank you, Franklin.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.